Imagine this. A man walks into a room and, without saying a word, commands respect, while you struggle to be noticed. What did Machiavelli know about silent power that you don't? Share where you're watching from in the comments below, and let's dive into this story. You're surrounded by people, colleagues, friends, maybe even rivals, and you feel the weight of their judgment pressing against you like an invisible tide. You want their respect, their admiration, the kind of presence that makes them lean in when you move, hang on your every gesture. But here's the catch. You haven't said a word. Not a single syllable. Yet, some people in this room command that respect effortlessly, their silence louder than any speech, their mere existence a force that shifts the atmosphere. Others, no matter how much they talk, are ignored, dismissed, or pitied. Why is that? Why do some wield respect without opening their mouths, while you feel invisible, scrambling for words that never seem to land? This is the paradox that gnaws at you. In a world obsessed with communication, where everyone is shouting to be heard, posting to be seen, arguing to be right, real respect often belongs to those who say the least. You've been taught that respect comes from speaking up, from being loud, from proving your worth through endless chatter. You've spent your life trying to say the right thing, to win people over with your ideas, your charm, your arguments. But what if everything you've been taught is wrong? What if the true path to respect isn't through words at all, but through something deeper, something silent, something Machiavelli, the master of power and perception, understood centuries ago? What if the key to commanding respect lies in the quiet, in the unspoken, in the way you carry yourself when no one expects you to speak? Niccolo Machiavelli, the Renaissance thinker whose name became synonymous with cunning and influence, knew this truth intimately. In The Prince, he wrote about power not as a gift bestowed by others, but as a force you create through perception, strategy, and presence. He understood that respect isn't won by begging for it with words. It's earned through the silent language of authority, the kind that makes others feel your strength before you even open your mouth. You've seen it, haven't you? The colleague who walks into a meeting and without saying a word makes everyone sit up straighter. The friend who, in a group, holds a quiet confidence that draws every eye. They don't need to speak to be heard. They are heard, because their presence speaks for them. Why can't you do the same? Why do you feel the need to fill the silence, to prove yourself, when others seem to command respect effortlessly? The tension is suffocating. You want to be seen, to be valued, to walk into a room and know that people feel your worth without you having to say a thing. But every time you try, you stumble. Your words feel hollow. Your attempts at confidence fall flat, and you're left wondering what you're missing. Machiavelli would say you're missing the art of silent power, the ability to project strength, mystery, and authority without uttering a single word. But what is this art, and why is it so hard for you to master? There's a hidden force at play, one that's been shaping how you show up in the world, one that's kept you from the respect you crave. It's not about what you say, it's about what you don't. Let's uncover this force and see what Machiavelli knew that you've been overlooking all along. You felt the sting of being overlooked, the frustration of wanting respect but not knowing how to command it without speaking. The man who walked into the room and shifted the air with his silent presence, he's not a mystery. He's a master of something you've been taught to ignore. The hidden problem isn't your lack of words. It's your lack of presence. A force so subtle, yet so powerful that it shapes how others see you, before you even open your mouth. On this Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at 07:50 p.m., let's uncover why you struggle to be seen and what Machiavelli knew about the silent language of respect. Machiavelli understood that respect isn't about what you say, it's about what others perceive. In The Prince, he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But his deeper insight lies in how you create that fear or love. Through perception, not persuasion. You've been conditioned to believe that respect comes from speaking up, from proving yourself with words, from being the loudest in the room. But this is a lie, one rooted in modern society's obsession with noise. You live in a world that rewards chatter, social media likes, viral rants, endless debates. But Machiavelli would argue that this noise dilutes your power. The more you talk, the more you expose your neediness, your insecurity, your desperation to be seen. Why do the quiet ones, the ones who say the least, often hold the most authority? Because their silence forces others to fill the void with their own assumptions. And those assumptions are shaped by the strength they project. Philosophically, this ties to Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the will to power. Nietzsche believed that true power comes from self-mastery, from an inner strength that radiates outward. You've been seeking respect externally, through words, through validation. But Nietzsche would say you're looking in the wrong place. Respect starts within, in the way you carry yourself, in the confidence you exude without needing to prove it. When you speak too much, you signal a lack of self-mastery, a need to justify your existence. But when you're silent, grounded, unshaken, you embody power, and others can't help but feel it. Ever notice how a leader who speaks sparingly seems wiser, more commanding? That's the will to power at work, and it's what you've been missing. Psychologically, this problem runs deep. Your brain is wired for social survival, constantly scanning for cues of status and belonging. The amygdala, your fear center, kicks in when you feel ignored, pushing you to speak, to act, to do anything to be noticed. This is where the spotlight effect comes in, a cognitive bias that makes you overestimate how much others are judging you. You think you need to talk to prove your worth because silence feels like invisibility, like weakness. But here's the irony. The more you talk to fill that void, the more you signal insecurity. Neuroscience shows that over-explaining triggers a stress response in listeners, making them perceive you as less confident, less authoritative. Silence, on the other hand, activates the brain's reward centers in others. They lean in, curious, projecting strength onto you because you don't seem to need their approval. Society amplifies this problem. Aldous Huxley warned of a world that values spectacle over substance, and you see it everywhere. The loudest voices get the most attention, while the quiet ones are overlooked, or so you think. You've been conditioned to equate silence with weakness, to believe that respect comes from being heard, not felt. But Machiavelli knew that silence is a weapon, a way to create mystery, to let others project their fears and admiration onto you. When you're silent, you become a mirror for their assumptions. And if your presence is strong, those assumptions will be of power, not weakness. Why do you feel so uncomfortable in silence? Because you've been taught to fear it, to see it as a void rather than a tool. The tension is mounting. You can feel the ache of being unseen, the frustration of knowing you're meant for more, meant to be respected, not ignored. But what happens if you keep chasing respect through words, if you keep filling the silence with noise? What happens if you never learn the art of silent power that Machiavelli mastered? The consequences are deeper than you might think, and they're already shaping your life in ways that keep you small, stuck, and unfulfilled. Let's dive into those consequences and see what's really at stake if you don't change course. You've been chasing respect the wrong way, filling the silence with words, hoping to prove your worth through endless noise. But the silent power Machiavelli mastered, the kind that commands respect without a single word, remains out of reach. On this Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at 7:51 p.m. +7, the unseen consequences of this approach are quietly eroding your life, your relationships, and your sense of self. They're like a shadow you can't outrun, growing larger with every moment you ignore the truth. If you don't learn to harness the power of silence, you risk a life of being overlooked, undervalued, and disconnected from the respect you crave. Start with your own mind. When you overcompensate with words, trying to prove your worth, you're not just speaking, you're signaling. Your brain, driven by the fear of being ignored, pushes you to talk more, to explain, to justify. But this triggers a stress response, flooding your system with cortisol. You feel anxious. Your thoughts race, and you second-guess every word. Ever notice how you stumble over your sentences when you're desperate to impress? That's your nervous system in overdrive, reacting to the perceived threat of rejection. Neuroscience shows that this stress doesn't just make you feel bad. It impairs your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for clear thinking and decision-making. You become less confident, less composed, exactly the opposite of the respect you're trying to earn. This doesn't just affect you, it shapes how others see you. When you talk too much, you expose your neediness, your insecurity, your lack of self-assurance. Social psychology calls this the pratfall effect. Small flaws can make you more likable, but over-explaining makes you seem desperate. You might think you're showing confidence by speaking up, but others perceive weakness, a lack of control. Think of the last time you were in a meeting and someone rambled on, trying to prove their point. Did you respect them more? Or did you tune out, maybe even pity them? Now imagine how others feel when you do the same. Machiavelli knew that silence creates mystery, letting others project strength onto you. But when you overspeak, you strip away that mystery, leaving yourself vulnerable, diminished, and easily dismissed. The consequences ripple into your relationships and social standing. When you're always talking, always seeking validation, you push people away. Friends might find you exhausting. Colleagues might see you as untrustworthy, someone who can't keep their own counsel. You're not the steady, reliable presence they turn to in a crisis. You're the one who needs reassurance, who craves attention. This erodes your influence, your ability to lead, your capacity to be respected. In a group, you're the one they tolerate, not the one they follow. Machiavelli would warn that this makes you a target, someone others can manipulate because your need for approval is so clear. Ever wonder why you're not invited to the important discussions, why your ideas are overlooked? It's because your words have made you small, not strong. On a societal level, this problem is amplified by the culture you live in. Modern society, as Aldous Huxley predicted, thrives on noise, on spectacle, on chatter, on the constant need to be heard. You're conditioned to believe that silence equals weakness, that if you're not speaking, you're not contributing. Cognitive biases, like the availability heuristic, make you overestimate the importance of loud voices. You see them everywhere. On social media, in meetings, on the news, so you think that's what respect looks like. But this keeps you trapped in a cycle of performance, not power. You're playing a game designed to keep you insecure, always striving, never arriving. And the more you play, the more you lose sight of the respect you're seeking. The stakes are higher than you realize. Every moment you spend chasing respect through words is a moment you're not building the presence that truly matters. You feel it, don't you? The quiet ache of being dismissed, the frustration of knowing you're meant to be seen as more. A leader, a force, someone who matters. If you keep going like this, you risk a life of invisibility, of being the one who speaks but is never truly heard. Machiavelli's silent power isn't just a tool, it's a lifeline, a way to reclaim the respect you've been chasing all along. But how do you break free from this cycle of noise? How do you step into the kind of presence that commands respect without a word? There's a way, a rebellion against everything you've been taught, and it starts with a shift in how you see yourself and the world. Let's take that step and discover how to wield the silent power Machiavelli mastered. You've seen the cost of chasing respect through words, how your endless need to speak has left you stressed, overlooked, and disconnected from the power you crave. But on this Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at 7:55 p.m. +7, here's the rebellion Machiavelli would urge you to embrace. Stop speaking and start being. The respect you've been seeking doesn't come from what you say. It comes from the silent strength you project, a presence so unshakable that others can't help but feel it. This isn't about becoming mute. It's about mastering the art of silence, the kind of quiet power that commands attention without a single word. And it's a radical shift that will change how the world sees you. The first step is to redefine your relationship with silence. You've been taught to fear it, to see it as weakness, as a void you need to fill with words to prove your worth. But Machiavelli knew silence is a weapon, a way to create mystery, to let others project their assumptions onto you. Start by practicing intentional silence in small moments. The next time you're in a conversation, maybe with friends or at work, pause before you speak. Take a deep breath. Hold the silence for just a second longer than feels comfortable. And watch what happens. People will lean in, their curiosity piqued, their attention locked on you. Psychologically, this taps into the scarcity principle. When you speak less, your words become rare, valuable, and powerful. You're not just breaking a habit, you're rewriting how others perceive you, turning silence from a weakness into a strength. Next, build a presence that speaks for you. Machiavelli understood that respect comes from perception, and perception is shaped by how you carry yourself. Stand tall, literally. Straighten your shoulders, keep your head high, move with purpose. Your body language is your first language, and it's louder than any words. In a meeting, don't fidget or look away. Hold eye contact. Let your gaze be steady, unflinching. This isn't about arrogance, it's about confidence, the kind that says, I don't need to speak to prove my worth. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that open, grounded postures increase testosterone and lower cortisol, making you feel more powerful and appear more authoritative. Think of someone like Nelson Mandela, whose quiet dignity commanded respect, even in the face of oppression. His presence spoke before he did, and yours can too. Cultivate an inner stillness that radiates outward. This is where Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of self-mastery comes in. True power comes from within, from a calm center that nothing can shake. Start with a simple practice. Every morning, take 5 minutes to sit in silence, focusing on your breath. Notice the thoughts that come up, your fears, your need to be seen, and let them pass without reacting. This builds emotional resilience, the kind that lets you stay composed in any situation. When you're unshaken, when you don't flinch at a harsh word or rush to fill an awkward pause, others will feel your strength. Jean-Paul Sartre would call this living in good faith, choosing authenticity over the need for approval. You're not performing for respect, you're embodying it, and that's what makes it real. This rebellion also means letting go of the need to explain yourself. Machiavelli knew that over-explaining signals weakness, a need to justify your existence. The next time someone challenges you, maybe a colleague questions your idea, don't rush to defend. Nod, hold their gaze, and let the silence sit. If you must speak, say something concise, then stop. This creates a vacuum, forcing them to fill it with their own thoughts, often projecting respect onto you because you don't seem to need their validation. Historically, leaders like Abraham Lincoln used this tactic. His sparse, deliberate words made every syllable carry weight, and his silence carried even more. You can do the same, turning every interaction into a moment of power. It won't be easy. Society will push you to speak, to perform, to prove yourself. Your own instincts will fight, urging you to fill the silence with noise. But every time you choose stillness over chatter, you grow stronger. You start to feel the shift. Friends seek your advice. Colleagues defer to your presence. Strangers notice you in a way they never did before. Machiavelli's silent power isn't just a way to gain respect. It's a way to reclaim your life, to become the kind of man others can't ignore. As we move to the final truth, you'll see how this rebellion isn't just a tool. It's a transformation, one that redefines how you live, lead, and connect. Are you ready to step fully into that power? You've embraced the rebellion, stepping into the silent power Machiavelli mastered. Using intentional silence, unshakable presence, and inner stillness to command respect without a word. You've stopped filling the void with noise, instead letting your being speak louder than any speech. But on this Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at 07:56 p.m. +7, here's the ultimate truth that Machiavelli's wisdom leads you to. Respect isn't something you gain from others. It's something you embody within yourself. When you become a man of depth, of quiet strength, of unyielding authenticity, respect isn't a gift others give you. It's a force you radiate, a truth you live, a presence that reshapes the world around you. This revelation transforms everything you thought you knew about power, connection, and your place in the world. Machiavelli understood that true power isn't about control over others. It's about control over yourself. In The Prince, he emphasized perception, but his deeper insight is about the source of that perception, your inner state. You've been seeking respect externally, through words, through validation, through the approval of others. But the ultimate truth is that respect starts within, in the way you see yourself, in the strength you cultivate when no one is watching. When you master silence, not as a tactic, but as a reflection of your inner depth, you become a man who doesn't need to demand respect, because it flows naturally from who you are. This is what Machiavelli meant when he spoke of being feared or loved. Not that you should seek fear, but that you should embody a presence so undeniable that others can't help but feel it, whether as awe, admiration, or reverence. Philosophically, this aligns with Marcus Aurelius's Stoic wisdom. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The chaos of the world, its noise, its judgments, its endless demands, can't touch you when your inner world is steady. You've learned to sit in silence, to hold your gaze, to move with purpose. And in doing so, you've tapped into a power that transcends words. This isn't just about respect. It's about purpose, about living as a man who knows his worth, who doesn't need to prove it because he feels it in every fiber of his being. Carl Jung would call this the integration of your shadow, the parts of you you feared, like your need for approval or your fear of being unseen. When you face those fears, you become whole, and that wholeness radiates a quiet power that others can't ignore. Psychologically, this truth is transformative. When you stop seeking external validation, you break the cycle of stress that's kept you trapped. The constant need to speak, to prove yourself, floods your brain with cortisol, keeping you anxious and reactive. But as you've cultivated silence and presence, you've lowered that stress, allowing your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for clarity and confidence, to take over. You feel calmer, more grounded, more in control. This isn't just a feeling, it's a shift in how others perceive you. Studies show that people are drawn to those who exude self-assurance, who don't need to fill the silence with noise. Your stillness becomes a magnet, pulling respect toward you because it signals a rare kind of strength, the strength of a man who knows himself. This changes how you live. You walk into a room, and without saying a word, people notice. Your colleagues defer to you. Your friends seek your counsel. Strangers feel your presence. You're no longer the one scrambling to be heard. You're the one they can't help but listen to, even in your silence. Think of someone like Mahatma Gandhi, whose quiet resolve moved nations. He didn't need to shout. His presence, his authenticity, spoke louder than any words. You can do the same, turning every interaction into a moment of power, every silence into a statement of strength. Picture this. You're back in that crowded room, the one where you once felt invisible, but now you're different. You stand tall, your shoulders back, your gaze steady. You don't rush to speak, don't fidget, don't seek approval. The room feels your presence, a quiet, unshakable force that shifts the air. People turn to you, not because you've spoken, but because you've become someone they can't ignore. You stepped into the light of your own power, the kind Machiavelli knew, the kind that doesn't need words to be felt. This is your ultimate truth. Respect isn't given, it's lived. Embody it, and the world will follow. You've walked through Machiavelli's wisdom, embracing the silent power that commands respect without a word. On this Sunday, May 18th, 2025, at 7:57 p.m. +7, you've learned that true respect isn't something you chase with words. It's something you embody through presence, authenticity, and inner strength. You've become the man who walks into a room and shifts the air, not because you speak, but because you are. Your silence, your stillness, your unshakable self, those are the forces that make others see you, feel you, respect you. Start now. Today, take one small step to embody this power. Practice silence in a moment where you'd normally speak. Maybe it's during a conversation with a friend. Pause. Hold the silence. Let your presence speak. Stand tall. Keep your gaze steady. And feel the shift within you. Notice how others respond, how they lean in, how your quiet confidence draws their respect. This is the beginning of a new way of being. A life where you don't need to prove your worth because you live it every day. How does it feel to command respect without saying a word? Share in the comments. What's one moment where you'll practice silence today, and how did it change the way others saw you? Your story could inspire someone else to step into their own power. If this resonated with you, hit the like button. It lets us know you want more content like this. Subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next dive into philosophy and self-mastery. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe a friend who's struggling to be seen, to be respected in a noisy world. The world will keep shouting, but you don't have to. You've learned Machiavelli's secret. True respect comes from within, from a silence that speaks louder than words. Step into that power, live it, and watch how the world bends to meet you, not because you demanded it, but because you've become a man who can't be ignored.